Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be comparing a V8 Defender to a V8 BMW X5. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the BMW of Pleasant Grove for giving me some time with both of these vehicles. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. If you have any questions, you need any help, just ask for Brendan. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering the X5 is a twin-turbo 4.4 liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs with this are 523 horsepower and then 553 pound-feet of torque. Now powering the Defender is a supercharged 5-liter V8 that also goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It produces 518 horsepower and then 461 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now you might be wondering why I'm comparing these two vehicles, and truth be told, there's actually a ton of cross-shopping between both of these. Both the Land Rover dealership and the BMW dealership have told me that you have people trading back and forth between these vehicles, which is very interesting. The Defender is obviously rugged, off-road looking with the boxy design. You've got the circular headlights here, and this one even has the checker protection. You got checker plates there up top too. And so yeah, the Defender really is all about boxiness and off-roadiness as well, is the best way to put it. The BMW's got like a sleek, sporty design. I mean, look at the blacked out grille, and then you can see the headlights, how tapered off those are. So two completely different designs. Now, funny enough, both of these have 22-inch wheels, even though the Defender's kind of more off-roady, and you can see the tires on the Defender have a little bit more sidewall compared to the tires on the BMW, which are sport performance tires. Now, you notice that we've got body painted fender flares on both of the vehicles, and also typical Land Rover build quality. I'm just making a joke. Anyways, we've got the Defender logo there on the event piece. You got the M badge there with the BMW, and look at the mirror on the BMW. Aerodynamic shape. We've got a boxy shape here with the Defender, and then you got more checker protection there, and even the handles on the Defender look boxy compared to the handles on the BMW. Now here's the side profile with the X5, and then here's the side profile with the Defender. Now the cargo areas could not be more different. First off, the Defender has that weird spoiler up top, but anyways, it's got an old school swing gate, which is very interesting. We do have an outlet here in the back, and you can see we've got those boxy windows. You actually have vents here on the back as well. And you can raise and lower the suspension there with those little functions. But yeah, very spacious, lots of vertical space, but yeah, old school at the opening. The X5, on the other hand, is more of a traditional setup. It does have a tailgate, which is really cool. But yeah, plenty of space. And you guys can see here, it's not quite as wide, but it's still pretty solid overall. And so, yeah, I'd say good cargo room in both of them. The X5 looks like it goes back a little bit further, but the Defender definitely higher because of the boxier design. Now the Defender has the spare tire mounted on the back, again like an old school off-roader, and you've got really aggressive exhaust tips hanging down low, recovery point there on the back. The BMW has exhaust tip covers because the exhaust tips are hiding rather below. Anyways, we've got really cool taillights that kind of look like swords. And so, yeah, when it comes to design, these could not be more different. Good legroom here in the back of the Defender. It's kind of a nice seating position overall. Got a little storage net there. Got our own climate zone here in the rear, vents, all of that. And I do like these seats. They're pretty cool looking with all the leather trim. You got that on the door panel, which has like a mix between rugged and luxury, and then you have the cool Alpine windows there up top too, which kind of just make the cabin feel a little bit more open. Now in the back of the BMW, I'd say that the room feels somewhat similar. You sit a little bit lower. We do have heated seats here in the back, our own climate zone as well, and then you can see the door panel, pretty fancy looking. You got a sunshade and all of that. So nice trim overall, less kind of rugged looking, of course, compared to the Defender. And then the seats, they've got this nice leather trim, and both of these have panoramic sunroofs, so the sunroof does make this feel open, but it doesn't feel as open as the Defender. Well, let's start up the Defender here. Boom! And by the way, this thing weighs over 6,000 pounds. We'll see how much the BMW weighs, but you can see full digital gauge cluster. We've got a heads-up display. It's cool to see the checker plate there over the dash. And this one being the V8 has the Alcantara steering wheel with the paddle shifters there on the back. And the Defender actually has a really cool infotainment system. So 360 camera, fills in underneath the vehicle as you move. You have an on-road and off-road view with it, which is nice. But quick response time with the screen itself, it's all really easy to use. You have a low traction launch, which is very interesting for off-road situations. Got your little shifter here. Now, unlike other Land Rover models, this actually has quite a few physical controls still. So to adjust the suspension up and down, for example, you've got your low range. And by the way, we are in the entry exit mode right now with the suspension. So funny enough, this sits about the same level as the BMW sits when you're in the entry exit mode. It shows you how tall the Defender is. But anyways, you got your climate controls that also goes into your seat controls, and then also your drive mode. Like, lots of functions built into that dial system. Plenty of storage here in the center. Got a cool box there, wireless phone charging pad, nice trim here on the top. We've got a camera rear view mirror, panoramic sunroof as well. And again, these front seats are just as nice as the back with all the trim, very comfortable, and you sit very upright. Well, let's start up the BMW. Boom. And by the way, this thing weighs like 5,700 pounds, so quite a bit less than the Defender. But yeah, full digital gauge cluster, heads-up display, and the steering wheel isn't quite as sports car-ish compared to the Defender, because the Defender actually has Alcantara, funny enough. But I mean, it's still really nice. I will say the paddle shifters don't feel as premium as the Defender's metallic ones. And then we do have a 360 camera system with this. Now, BMW has a very responsive infotainment system, but it's not nearly as intuitive as the Land Rovers. The Land Rover is a little bit more user-friendly, but this isn't bad by any means. And you notice we do have a couple of physical controls here, and then a bunch down here, so like the suspension to adjust it up and down for the infotainment system. Transmission select, instead of like a gear shifter like in the Defender, they're both electronic, but this one's like a little tab, and then all of your drive modes there. And you can see here, why is that not opening? There we go. Much smaller center console, but nice trim here, and same thing on the dash. Really nice build quality overall. And then you got a premium headliner, and then again, big sunroof just like the Defender. Looking at the pricing, it actually makes sense as to why a lot of people are comparing these. So this BMW is about $114,000. That Defender is about $120,000. So they're, I mean, pretty close in terms of pricing, but let's see which one performs the best. Well, let us start off in the X5. I know that this might seem like a weird comparison to a lot of people, because the Defender always gets compared to off-roaders, which that's what the Land Rover team is marketing it as. It is an off-roader. But in the real world, a lot of people just look at it as any other luxury SUV. And again, the G-Wagon gets the same thing. The G-Wagon's an off-roader, but a lot of people just compare it to other luxury cars, because most people will never take the Defender off-road. They'll never take the G-Wagon off-road. So we'll see how the Defender compares to the BMW. Now, I was originally going to actually compare the Defender to the X5M, but after talking to Brendan, we both kind of decided that the M60 makes more sense, because that's what more people are actually trading in. And then the other thing is the comfort. A lot of people that are going from Land Rover to BMW still want to have comfort, and in full-on M car, not comfortable. Suspension's too firm, everything's tuned towards sportiness. And so the M60, I've talked about this, is kind of like the sweet spot where you get more power, but you still get comfort. Now, it'll be interesting to see the performance difference in terms of the feel with going from a supercharged V8 there, turbocharged V8 over here. Seats in the BMW are comfortable. And I will say, this feels like a completely different experience just sitting in both the cars. Like in here, I feel like I'm in a traditional, kind of like modern crossover, obviously a very sporty one at that. But just with how everything's tapered off in the interior, it feels like a normal modern SUV. So it's kind of interesting to see that. And if you guys want to see more BMW Range Rover comparisons, let me know what you'd want to see compared against each other. I just don't know what people are actually comparing in the market. Now this, again, this has adjustable suspension just like the Land Rover, so you can adjust the height and everything. And it also helps out with the ride quality quite a bit. Like going over this, you feel it, of course. We'll compare it to the Defender. But yeah, it stays nice and controlled, and it's pretty darn comfortable over the bumps. We'll get in a little bit here. Oh! Sounds so good. I love BMW's engines. And I love the fact that BMW shares their engines. Like, the joke that I always make to people is the best BMW sports car has a Toyota badge on it, the best BMW SUV has a Land Rover badge on it, and the best BMW off-roader has an Ineos badge on it. So they make great powertrains. That's why a lot of people use BMW. powertrains. The performance, the efficiency, all of that. So yeah, really fun setup overall. So let's go pop into the Defender and see if it changes anything. And I also want to see the weight difference. Again, the Defender weighs over 6,000 pounds. This weighs about 5,700 pounds. And so there is a pretty big weight difference, and see how that affects handling and everything. And Land Rover. So I really hope that more automakers do what Land Rover has done with the Defender. And here's what I mean. Let me turn this down. So Land Rover has taken a unibody vehicle and they have basically made it, what are we doing here? They have basically made it, I forgot I had to click in that way. There we go.
I didn't understand that.
No, thank you. They've made it look like a big boxy body on frame vehicle. Which, here's the benefit of this. This has so much more interior space than most vehicles. It's just, it's huge inside. And I know that there's some affordable cars that are kind of doing this. Think like the Hyundai Santa Fe, for example. But I think luxury manufacturers would benefit from doing this because it just makes the vehicle feel so much more spacious, so much more open. It's really cool. Now the engine's definitely a lot less torquey compared to the BMW. You feel it right off the bat. It doesn't have the low end that you have with that 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. Again, 461 versus 553 on the torque. It's gonna feel that way. And it does feel like a bigger vehicle. It doesn't feel quite as sharp and sporty as the BMW on road. But what I will say is it's definitely more comfortable. The seats are more comfortable. The ride is, well, here's the deal. It kind of drives more truck-like. So some of you might not like that. Some people perceive floatiness as discomfort. For me, that doesn't seem, that's not discomfort. That's just, it's floaty versus sharp with the handling. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit floatier. So that's a big difference. But it still stays nice and planted. Yeah, and the steering wheel design, like just the style of this interior, I think it's another thing that a lot of automakers could learn from. It just looks cool. I wouldn't say it's any more comfortable over that bump, which makes sense because it's not, I mean, same construction, right? Adjustable suspension, independent suspension all around, unibody. Better acceleration here. So not as quick as the BMW. It weighs more, has less horsepower. It makes sense, has less torque, but it feels really good at the acceleration. Supercharged linear power just feels fantastic. I'm gonna pop that back into comfort. So yeah, this is interesting. I think the Defender has more theater inside and out, right? It's more of an experience. The BMW is such a good tool though. It's really sharp with the handling. It's comfortable. It's got great acceleration. Like, you can just tell it's a very well engineered car. This one's got a little bit more soul to it, I would say. And the BMW's not soulless. That's definitely got some character. But that's kind of the way that I see it. And you know, when it comes to reliability, well, you don't really buy luxury cars for reliability, do you? Unless you're getting a Lexus. And so it's like both of them are probably going to have things here and there. They're complicated electronic machines, so just kind of comes with the territory. So let me know which way you guys would go, whether it be the X5 or the Defender.